Hi, my name is Bill. I've put together a collection of little videos to express some of the lessons I've learned in my life. Things you may already know and things you may have forgotten. Some maybe you haven't even learned it at all. But I wish to share some of the things with you. This is the sixth topic I wish to talk about. It comes in two little sections. The first part is going to be about comprehension and what it is, to me at least. And the second part is about a deeper understanding of doubt. Just doubt itself, in and of itself. But first, let's talk about comprehension. What have I learned about it? Well, we all know, if we can just think back a little bit to our schooling days, whether middle school or high school, even college, we've learned things along the way. And there's a certain pride you get when you learn and understand something for the first time. You get a sense that, yeah, I've learned this. Man, I am smart. And you try to go and apply it to the world, and it works most of the time, but not all the time. The interesting thing is, as we get older, we get a deeper understanding of different aspects, of different concepts. In the last video, I spoke of something I call, a third part of what knowledge is, called the greater conceptual knowledge. Something that isn't tangible, but something that is observable, like the growth of a tree, the forming of clouds through wind and moisture, and eventually rain falling, like it is right now on top of me. They're not one physical thing. They're a process, something you have to comprehend, the step-by-step procedure. As we grow and learn and are educated, whether it's through a university, through a high school, through self-teaching or self-education, or just by following a certain interest on television through a documentary, we get and develop a greater understanding of things. Now, comprehension in itself, some people, and I've encountered this in a few, will develop a new understanding of something and proclaim that I understand it as much as possible, which I think is inaccurate. The aspect of comprehension that I think I'm trying to make here is that we as human beings ideally should be in a constant state of learning and growing. We gain new experiences, we learn new knowledge, and we can apply the new experiences with the knowledge and expand on things we currently or previously understood a certain way. And we expand on our understanding so that our understanding is constantly growing. The degree of comprehension of any topic is going to keep growing. And whereas you might understand something now, you might be intern at a stock firm or a brokerage firm, and you are in there and you know all there is from your previous jobs, from college. But as you do your job, you're going to learn new things, and you're going to be taught and mentored, and you're going to appreciate things differently, you're going to see things differently, you're going to understand things in a different fashion. All that being said, it leads to one conclusion. You're always going to learn new things. You're always going to comprehend things at greater degrees. Even weather patterns. Currently, we don't understand enough to predict more than 5 to 10 days ahead. We can see patterns, but our comprehension is growing day by day. At one time, we had a 3-day forecast. Then a 5-day. Now we're daring to go into a 10-day forecast. What does that mean? It means we're understanding the climate better. We're understanding how weather patterns affect other weather patterns, and we're learning new things. So degrees of comprehension on any topic are constantly changing. We are, in essence, learning and learning. That's the whole part of learning. When I talk about previously what I termed the greater conceptual knowledge, this is just simply intangible things that we can observe, and they're based upon one concept that's based upon lesser concepts, that's based upon lesser concepts, and so on, so you get to simple, tangible items. So conceptually, there is no end to how we can comprehend something. There is no roof. No one person, no matter how long they live, how smart they are, how good their memory is ever going to understand things, comprehend things, anything, 100%. There is no ceiling to this. You can understand things in a very great way, better than anyone else in existence, but that doesn't mean you will stop learning or understanding in that topic. Doesn't mean you will comprehend it anymore, or I should say, it doesn't mean your comprehension, your learning on that topic has ended. You will keep learning. You will develop a deeper understanding of something. The nuances, the ins and the outs. If anybody has ever pursued a hobby, an interest, a skill set, let's call it, if you have, you will know that as you get into it and as you learn, there are certain nuances involved with whatever skill you're working with, whether it be blacksmithing, carpentry, I'm drawing a blank here, even cutting a tree down. There are certain nuances involved. Making music, playing music, there are things about it that you learn as you get into it. And some people, and I've had experience with some in the musical field, will say that they will never truly be a master at it because there's so much to know and so much to learn. And that being said, if you've been in one of these fields or taken upon yourself to develop a skill in a particular area, you will know there really isn't an end to how much you can truly know about a certain topic. Or better yet, there's no end to how much you can truly understand and learn about this skill. You'll do your best to be your best, but that doesn't mean you'll know it all. And even the ones that know it all will realize and tell you that they don't know it as well as they want to. Now, to take a side step here, I am going to I'm going to recall a story that I read on the internet, Yahoo News. It seemed like a valid story. I think it was true. It's hard to say, Yahoo News being Yahoo News. But the basis of the story seemed pretty straightforward. I didn't see any hidden meaning behind it. But it involved a couple that had a lot of children. They had probably 13 children. And after the two oldest were, I think, about 19 or 20, a son and a daughter, and their youngest was 2 years old, they decided it's time to take a break. It's time to get out and go and take a week-long honeymoon. So they left their two oldest in charge of the rest of the siblings, and they set out on a trip. I believe it was to Washington, D.C., but that's not overly important. And over the weekend, something happened. An accident occurred on the road with a car, I believe. And both of these parents died. Well, of course, eventually someone called the house of the family. The oldest son got the call, and he was told that his parents had died. His oldest sister came in, and he told her the same thing. They had a car wreck and they passed away, and they're dead. Well, they were I mean, what can you say? They were heartbroken. They were in total shock. And sister was crying, the brother's upset, trying to think what to do at this point. What do you do in this situation? Well, in his mind, and this is where really the actual story ends from my reading, but I kind of read more into it. I imagine what they would say, what they would tell their siblings. And this is where this story has pertinence to the idea of comprehension. Bear in mind that if you have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, 2 12-year-olds, 14 and a 15-year-old, and I lose count of how many other kids they are, what ages they were, but there was 13 of them ranging from 17 to 2 years old. There was twins in there too. And so the oldest son and oldest daughter had to decide, what do we do? What do we tell our sisters and brothers in the morning? And this you explain what happened to each of them based upon their age, their maturity, and their experiences. You might tell one that they're in heaven. You might tell the other that they had an accident, had a car wreck, and they're dead. You might tell a 8-year-old that they had an accident and God took them to heaven. You might not even be able to tell a 2-year-old what happened until later, because a 2-year-old is not going to understand much of this. They went to a better place. The whole idea I'm trying to point here, or bring to light, is that as each of these children are of different ages and maturity and life experiences, their ability to comprehend something is very, it varies depending on all of these factors I mentioned. So comprehension in another light, whereas I mentioned there's no roof to it, we all have a different level of this comprehension. And sometimes a single idea or concept put in a simple form or a less comprehensive form might seem different than a concept that is in a more complex form. One would say your parents are, a mom and dad died and are in heaven. You might tell somebody else, mom and dad had a car wreck and they're both dead. So there's two ideas. One's real simplistic, one is a little more complex. And what I'm trying to say is comprehension is not just, who is that? Comprehension, someone's trying to call me and they shouldn't. Comprehension is not something that we should ever get to a point of saying we understand it completely. But at the same time, comprehension is not something we should assume everybody has. Different people have different levels of comprehension based upon their experience, maturity, and age. And saying as much, we need to understand that each and every one around us, including ourselves, we have a different ability level to comprehend something. And if we try our hardest, we'll still never understand things completely. So we're always in a degree of understanding of something. And that's what comprehension is. We analyze something based upon all the factors I mentioned. We get information and we make a conclusion. We come to an understanding. And that is what comprehension is about. And my time is over. Bye.